Hello and welcome everyone to today's panel discussion, Immunity, where we will talk about some simple kitchen shelf items that we get in every household, spices, and its magical properties. This panel has been brought to you by the Spices Board India, which comes under Ministry of Commerce and Industry India and Times of India. My name is Neena Bhaskar, and I will be your panel moderator for today. Before we delve into this interesting panel discussion today, I would like to invite two of our esteemed guests here to say a few words and kick off today's panel discussion. Starting with Shri D. Satyan IFS. Shri D. Satyan IFS is the Chairman and Secretary of Spices Board India, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. He is an Indian Forest Service officer of 1996 batch, Assam Meghalaya cadre, postgraduate in forestry from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University and from Indira Gandhi National University, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, Dehradun. He has served in various capacities in the state of Meghalaya as well as under the Government of India. In Meghalaya, he served as Secretary Biodiversity Board, Secretary State Environment Impact Assessment Authority, Chief Conservator of Forests, to share a few roles. In the central government, he served as faculty at the Central Academy of State Forest Service, Coimbatore, and as Conservator of Forests, Central in the Regional Office of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Chennai. Welcome, Shri D. Satyan. Kindly say a few words, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Sri Divakarnath Mishra, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, eminent panelists who have joined us for this panel discussion today, my colleagues at Spices Board, members of the Times of India group, who are our organizing partners today for this event, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. On the eve of the 75th Independence Day of India, my greetings to you all first. I feel extremely happy to welcome all of you for this web event titled Immunity, India's Key to Immunity with Focus on Spices. This is being organized by Spices Board in association with Times of India. The board took this initiative of organizing this event as part of the 75-week-long Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, which have been kick-started recently by our Honorable Prime Minister of India to commemorate the 75 glorious years of our country's independence and progress. I'm happy to note that the association with Times of India has facilitated a wider reach for this program among the public from across the length and breadth of our country. I'm sure the quiz program as well as the Make Your Spice Health Drink competition that go on in the sidelines of the event also will help to sustain the public interest in the event. We all know that for the last 2 years, we have been going through an unprecedented period in the history of humankind. Obviously, I'm referring to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has impacted and restricted our lives in more than one way. I must also say that this period has generated a lot of attention to human health and well-being and focus on the measures to stay safe and healthy. Before proceeding further, I can't resist spending a few minutes. I think I would spend 1 or 2 minutes to trace the rich history of spices. It is as old as the human civilization itself. It is so interesting to note the role of spices trade in defining the modern world. We can easily agree that in the checkered history of human dispersal across continents, one of the driving forces must have been their undeterred search for food. The quest for new palates and new fertile lands. Since ancient times, goods of value were carried from place to place first by land and then by sea routes. The first and prime recorded trade routes were called spice routes, primarily because spices were the principal and most profitable goods of trade that time. UNESCO records that the ancient spice routes stretched from the west coast of Japan through the islands of Indonesia, around India to the lands of the Middle East, and from there across the Mediterranean to the Europe. Imagine the scene of trade in ancient world where thousands of camels carrying caravans with the spices from the eastern world. Imagine the caravans trudging along from Calicut, Goa, and the Orient to the spice markets in Babylon, Alexandria, and Rome. Such was the trade power of spices that it connected the entire world. The spice trade was the world's biggest industry for long. It established and destroyed empires, led to the discovery of new continents, connected civilizations and cultures, facilitated exchange of ideas and knowledge. The knowledge on different people, religion, languages, culture, and their expertise. And all these factors contributed to lay the foundation for the modern world. Some historians argue that if the modern age has a definitive beginning, it was sparked by the spice trade. And I am in agreement. For almost 5,000 years, Arab traders controlled the spice trade until Vasco da Gama discovered a sea route to India and other spice producing countries in the East in the year 1498. This was a landmark even in the world trade as well as in world power politics. This success marked the beginning of Portuguese Empire. Spanish, English, and Dutch competition to the monopoly soon followed, often causing bloody conflicts over control of the spice trade. The United States began its entry into the world spice industry in the 18th century. When American businessmen began dealing with uh, their eastern counterparts directly bypassing the European companies. Over the years, as the spices have become more common and widespread, their value began to fall. The trade routes became wide open. People mastered spice cultivation in new territories, and the monopolies began to crumble. Spices lost the stature and allure that once placed them alongside jewels and precious metals as the world's most valuable items. What an incredible piece of history for a group of products. Many of us still look with a very casual eye, treating them just like a beer food component. As the modern world evolved, the ways of using spices too have evolved. The earliest written records on use of spices come from ancient Indian, Egyptian, and Chinese cultures. Early documentation suggests of chance discovery of spices when the hunters and food gatherers wrapped meat in the leaves of bushes and noted that the process did enhance the taste of the meat. And subsequently, they have started using nuts, seeds, berries, and barks as well. Since then, spices and herbs began to be used for medicinal purposes, for masking unpleasant taste and odor of food, and laid to keep the food fresh. The ancient Egyptians used spices as medicine, as flavoring agent, as cosmetics, and even for preserving dead bodies. India has a rich history of use of spices for various purposes, both for culinary and health purposes. A salient aspect of our food tradition has been the fact food is medicine and medicine is food. In many countries around the world, in many cultures, spices were continued to be used for various purposes, religious ceremonies, purification of the air, as healing ointments, as antidotes to poisons, and as essential cooking ingredients to add flavor, color, taste, and longevity to food items. Use of spices continue to evolve and remain so even during the modern era. We all know that India has been known as the spice bowl of the world for the wide variety of spices that we have in our land. Our spices are known for their rich flavor, aroma, and taste. India is famous for its spice-rich food traditions too. India is home to 109 varieties of spices, of which about 79 spices are presently under cultivation. India has been the leading producer, consumer, as well as exporter of spices. Spices Board is the organization responsible for the promotion of export promotion of 52 scheduled spices. We are happy that this event is organized at an appropriate time during the COVID pandemic to highlight the credentials of spices as health enhancers and immune boosters. While these aspects have been widely searched and discussed of late, there are instances of unverified or fake information floating around in our digital space, creating confusion in the minds of common people. I reckon this webinar provides an excellent opportunity to public to discuss various health benefits of spices with our experts, leading to dissemination of authentic information for the benefit of the public. I have said that with the advent of COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a focus on preventive healthcare, and people have started looking for nutritional supplements or nutraceuticals to address the nutrition gaps in their daily diet to boost their immunity. For us, spices are the most preferred source for this purpose world over. This has obviously contributed to an increase in demand for spices world over. India, being the largest exporter of spices to the whole world, successfully catered to this increased demand for spices, and in that process has scaled a new high during 2021 in terms of export performance, wherein we have crossed the 4 billion US dollar mark in export value for the first time. And we have our exports in terms of quantity, our exports have crossed 17 lakh metric tons for the first time. This is as per the ministry's data. The Indian system of medicine, especially the Ayurveda, suggests healthy, nutritious diets comprising spices to enhance immunity. Recently, as we can easily recollect, the Ministry of Ayush has urged us to use Ayushwat, comprising spice ingredients to stay healthy, along with other COVID-19 appropriate measures. In this background, I wish to inform you all that the board is promoting a tagline which goes like this: a pinch of spices for a bunch of benefits. I repeat, a pinch of spices for a bunch of benefits, to convey the potential of spices in this regard. It is seen that spices and their derivatives are used in various formats of medicine and of late, including in health supplements, nutraceuticals, food for special dietary uses, and foods for special medical purposes. All these four groups are commonly known as nutraceuticals now. As per an estimate, the nutraceutical markets in India is expected to grow from 4 billion in 2017 to 18 billion by 2025. In the backdrop of rising demand for dietary supplements. Realizing the potential of spices in this regard, the Spices Board has been supporting researchers on scientific validation and drug development using spices through its schemes. Some of the supported studies include prevention of diabetes mellitus, hypocholesteremia, and Alzheimer's disease using nano-encapsulated supercritical carbon dioxide extracts of small cardamom, the effect of large cardamom extract on experimental models of hypertension and endothelium function, development of functional food products from spices and botanicals for better health management, studies on the use of essential oils of turmeric and ginger in aflatoxin-induced toxicity and hepatocarcinogenesis and their mechanism of action, clinical evaluation of patented, enhanced bioavailable and blood-brain barrier permeable formulation of curcumin, and many other studies. The list goes on. And I have just read out a few of the studies that we have sponsored in the past. In many of these studies, results have been achieved, and some of the studies are still ongoing. And the Spices Board is ready to support more such studies. We all know that curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric, has been getting much attention of the researchers on account of its many scientifically proven health benefits. And it is promoted as a dietary supplement for various lifestyle diseases. Pharmacological potential of turmeric has been documented with proven evidences for its anti-nephrotoxic activity. Recent studies on turmeric have been increasingly focusing on the efficacy of turmeric extracts in several viral infections. Such is the case in many of the other spices as well. They have wider applications on for a variety of medical purposes. Indian capacity in pharmaceuticals is as strong as in the production and export of spices. India is the largest provider of generic drugs to the globe. It supplies over 50% of the global demand for various vaccines, 40% of generic demand in the US, and 25% of all medicines in the UK. Globally, India ranks third in terms of pharmaceutical production by volume and 14th by value. The domestic pharmaceutical industry includes a network of 3,000 drug companies and more than 10,000 manufacturing units in India. Because of the low price and high quality, Indian medicines are preferred world over, thereby rightly making the country the pharmacy of the world. According to the Indian Economic Survey 2021, the domestic pharma market is expected to grow 3 times in the next decade. This shows the immense potential India holds for handling the healthcare of the world through scientific validation of its ancient wisdom, riding on synergistic efforts comprising of spices, pharmaceutical, and nutraceutical industries. With today's discussion on how spices help boosting our immunity, Spices Food intends to build a platform for constructive inquiries on the role of spices in health promotion and how effectively these spices can be used to stay healthy. And also we would like to evoke scientific interest on further drug development using spices. With this, I would like to again welcome Dr. Divakarnath Mishra, IAS, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, to this program. I also would like to welcome our eminent panelists of the day, Dr. DC Katoj, Senior CMO, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Gopakumar, Medical Superintendent, Government Ayurvedic College, Kannur, Dr. Benny Anthony, co-founder and joint MD, Arjuna Naturals Private Limited, Dr. Shika Sharma, founder and MD, NutriWell Health India Private Limited, and Dr. A.B. Ramashri, Director Research of Spices Food. I would like to appreciate the participants of today's webinar for their keen interest and would request them to actively participate and add value to the discussions. Our experts will provide valuable information and clear all your doubts in the course of the webinar. You may post your queries in the chat box. Since time is the limiting factor, we may not be able to answer all the questions during the event today, but we plan to come out with a compilation in this regard very soon. I also wish to congratulate the officers of Spices Food, especially the publicity wing of the board as well as the team from Times of India for making all arrangements for the webinar jointly. Lastly, let me inform you the etymology of the word spice. The word spice comes from the Latin term species, which means an item of special value as compared to the ordinary articles of trade. Let this webinar on spices may also be of special value and benefit to all of us. With this, I'll stop and I would like to request Sri Divakar Nath Mishra, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, to kindly inaugurate the webinar and to address the gathering. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Eminent guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this beautiful event. We have just listened Secretary Spices Board, who had gone in very detail about all the effort India has put in development of spices export and certain other aspects of spices. In fact, I feel privileged and honored to be part of this beautiful discussion today. But before I start, let me tell you that I'm not an expert on the subject and also I'm not a good orator. So the organizers of this event have taken a big risk by inviting me on the cost of getting audience bored. So if something happens, I'm not responsible. I hope you will tolerate me for a few minutes till I complete my whatever I have to say. However, I'm here for the cause of Indian spices. I'm here because I'm the custodian of the highest ever spices export of around $4 billion from India to the world. This has happened first time. And on this account, let me congratulate our spices board headed by Sri Satyan, all the farmers, all the growers, all the traders, all the exporters, and everybody involved in this chain who have made this milestone achieved. In fact, I'm here to support and boost the morale of all spice lovers, consumers, growers, farmers, traders, and people who have come here to support this idea. In fact, as I told you, I'm not an expert and I'm not an orator. So I will talk to you in a layman's language. As I understand spices, as in charge of spice promotion from Government of India, as I see to it. When it comes to spices, my thoughts goes to two things. The first, of course, the delicious food of India, like biryani, like pulao, like Mughlai food. And the second thing, Dadi Ma ke nuskhe. If you got hurt, apply turmeric leaf. For cough and cold, apply ajwain leaf or garlic leaf. And don't forget to sip your favorite masala tea or milk with turmeric or sont ke laddu. If you got heat stroke, take a sarbat of saunt. Got bloating, take hing. Want to reduce weight, take cumin and cinnamon water. Have teeth pain, take cloves. Got hangover, take thyme. Wanna to avoid cancer, take raw turmeric juice at empty stomach. Cinnamon and Ceylon can reduce your blood sugar level, cholesterol, triglyceride, etc. Friends, what I'm saying is known to all of us. It's not new. It's our traditional knowledge passing through generations, which has now been recognized worldwide during the testing time of COVID-19 pandemic. And here comes the opportunity. The point I'm trying to make is that spices in India were not only used in food, but also to cure ailments. They flatter our senses. Spices smell with delicious fragrance, tongue with unique taste, and eyes with vibrant colors. All the spices of India are closely connected to the culture, traditions, and preservations since early human history, as I see. In fact, if you see, there are mentions about spices even the Vedic literatures, which were handed down from generations to generations, preserving it through memory. Rig Veda, one of our oldest books, mentions the use of spices. The clove is mentioned in Ramayana. Charak and Susata used spices for treatment of many diseases, and their records mention about spices such as sweet basil, ginger, black pepper, cumin, cloves, cinnamon, and mustard. I feel proud today that during COVID pandemic, when whole world was fighting for their immune system and becoming very strong in immunity, it was only India which shone a ray of hope. It was only India whose traditional knowledge about spices has been honored, respected, and remembered. It's really, in fact, I would like to go a bit back. It's really astonishing that if you see Ferdinand Magellan, Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus, at times I used to wonder why do they come to India? But if you see the pattern of history, the greatest discoverers of the New World arrived only where spice seekers and all their adventures, if you see, were in search of spices in order to enhance taste of their cuisines, to worship their gods, or to protect themselves from many maladies. The search of New World was undeniably the search for the land of spices, which highlights the importance of spices in our history. As it is said in the epic of Sangam literature, Silapathikaram, the major exports of the Sangam age were cotton fabrics and spices. The spices defined the markets and trade routes of those times, which were being synonymous with wealth and power. From the unknown lands in the Orient, spices reached the markets of Venice, Brazil, and London through obscure trade routes that were never revealed. Indian subcontinent, the richest geographical region with vast and varied flora and fauna, thus lured the world's attention to its source and markets with its rich and abundant spices. Long before the Western voyagers sailed the oceans in search of spices, the great Indian wisdom realized the potential of spices. Spices were closely associated with the day-to-day life of the Indians. To be very precise, the Westerners' search for the New World was actually an attempt to understand the ancient Indian knowledge, for we had been the forerunners in understanding the complexities of the life in a systematic and methodical manner, and the ways and measures to sustain the life on earth. The use of spices beyond the culinary ambit is not something new to India. The Indian systems of medicines have been making use of spices and herbs in a myriad of ways to treat or to prevent various infections and health conditions. I think there is not a single traditional or home remedy without a herb or a spice in it. Modern clinical research and studies prove that spices are effective in preventing and curing modern lifestyle diseases like cancer, obesity, Alzheimer's, and hypertension. Spices are therapeutically valued for their antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-tuberogenic, anti-carcinogenic, glucose, and cholesterol lowering activities and properties that affect cognition and mood. Spices are also used as laxative, purgative, expectorant, carminative, diuretic, etc. I'm eager to listen to the expert panelists of today's webinar, Immunity, India's Key to Immunity, on their opinion and views on the right use of spices and herbs for optimum health and immunity. Coming to the present, India is one of the top 10 agri-produce exporters in the world, and proudly we say that we have been witnessing robust growth in our agri-exports during the last couple of years. Despite the unprecedented global pandemic, India has been able to meet the increased global demand, emerging as a significant global supplier of food and other essential agriculture products, with East Asia, America, and European Union being the most important export markets. While 13 to 14% of the total production is exported of spices, the rest is available for domestic consumption. We are the largest producer, consumer, and exporter of spices in the world. Because of the peculiar agro-climatic condition of our country, spices are extensively cultivated in every state, presenting us a great potential for further expansion in its production and exports. We saw an upward trend in the export of spices during 2020 and 21, crossing the milestone of US $4 billion mark for the first time. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry has been taking every steps to facilitate agricultural exports, especially the spices. In fact, 54 districts are covered under one district, one product scheme for export promotion of spices. The Spices Board has initiated steps to implement entrepreneurship development program for increasing export in these districts. We produce best quality spices in the world. For example, our Kashmir saffron is sold at a best price in the world at rupees 3.5 lakh rupees per kg. Likewise, our ginger, our turmeric, our coriander, our cumin, our black pepper, all our spices have known for quality and for the therapeutic use. For the first time, Bhoot Jolokia of Nagaland, which is one of the hottest chilies in the world, was exported from Nagaland to London. Indian spices are capturing the world markets at a very fast pace. In the last financial year, India had exported around 1.4 lakh ton chilies to China from a meager 10,000 ton in 1819. Our next target is to achieve around $5 billion export of spices. In fact, spices are not commodities of trade, but they are our assets. The ever-evolving use and benefits of spices make them one of the most potential segments in the total agricultural production. Documenting the traditional knowledge on uses and benefits of spices for modern scientific and clinical validation of their therapeutic use and immune boosting properties is very crucial and essential. Besides empowering the healthcare system, this may perhaps open up a whole new world and outlook for the spices sector. I hope today's webinar, Immunity, India's Key to Immunity, would set a platform for open, constructive, and fruitful debates and discussions to authenticate the usefulness of spices as a good health promoters. I think it's appropriate and reasonable to draw the global attention onto spices and their medicinal value to develop safe, effective, and affordable medicines to aid the world in its combat against various ailments and diseases. This is, in fact, high time to popularize the therapeutic and medicinal use of Indian spices, which will also support our farmers to garner best prices in the world market. Let the whole world get benefit. Let the world become immune and strong. Let the Indian spices give health to the world and each and every one. Let us work for building a brand India for spices. Let Indian spices flourish in the world market. Let us work for a greater cause. Let immunity be synonymous with Indian spices. Let Indian spices be synonymous for boosting immunity of the world. Let us make the world healthy with a strong immunity. And there our role comes. We all need to do what we are doing more than that. I appreciate the effort of Spices Board and their initiative for this discussion on healthcare and wellness attributes of spices. This is one of the very unique program I'm attending to, and I'm hopeful that after the deliberations, each one of us, all the participants, will be more knowledgeable. We would be more committed about our spices. We would be more committed about our immunity. We would be more committed about our health. And we would try to make whole world immune and strong through our spices. With this, I stop here and I allow you to listen to the learned panelists. And with these words, I inaugurate this webinar. Have a great evening. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening my absurd views on the subject. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, our distinguished guests. Thank you very much, Sri D. Satyan, IFS, and Sri Divakar Nath Mishra, IAS, for your kind words. And with this, we kick off our panel discussion. Before we start with our panel discussion, I would quickly like to introduce our esteemed panelists here, starting with Dr. Shikha Sharma, founder and managing director, NutriWell Health India Private Limited. Dr. Shikha is a medical doctor by training from Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. It was in her days of practice as a junior doctor in the Department of Cardiology when she realized most of the patients had no idea about the root cause of their problem or were unaware that a lot of health issues could be prevented with the right eating habits and lifestyle. This shaped the desire to work for the preventive healthcare using the scientific approach, and the organization NutriWell Health India came into existence. The organization is a pioneer in integrating modern nutrition with Vedic nutrition and works in the area of disease prevention and wellness, serving clients across the globe. It has a telenutrition centralized model with over 140 employees working on the telenutrition center and the personal health app that helps in delivering personalized advisory and compliance monitoring, which is another pioneering concept that was introduced in the field of wellness. Welcome, Dr. Shikha.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you. With this, our second panelist is Dr. A.B. Ramashri. And Dr. Ramashri is the Director for Research and Development, Spices Board, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. As the research director there, she also holds charge of the quality evaluation labs and development activities of Spices Board all over India. She is the project coordinator for skill development program on spices under PMKVY, Pradhan Mantri Kaushalya Vikas Yojana, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. Dr. Ramashri has been awarded PhD from the University of Calicut and has 30 years of R&D and administrative experience for the development of institute infrastructure research facilities. Her area of research is in medicinal, aromatic, and spice plant systematics, pharmacognosy, molecular biology, proteomics, phytochemistry of natural products, secondary metabolites, and bioprospecting. Welcome, Dr. Ramashri.
Thank you for your introduction.
Thank you, ma'am. Then we have Dr. Dinesh Chand Katoch. Dr. D.C. Katoch is the Senior Chief Medical Officer under Central Government Health Scheme, Ministry of Health and Welfare. Dr. Katoch has an Ayurveda postgraduate degree with specialization in Kaya Chikitsa, Ayurvedic medicine. Dr. Katoch has a very versatile and illustrious professional career, starting as an Ayurveda teacher from the college. He graduated from Dayanand Ayurvedic College, Jalandhar, Punjab. He has served the country in the healthcare industry and has held key positions in central government during his illustrious career spanning for more than 30 years. Welcome, Dr. Katoch.
Thank you. Thanks to the organizers also.
Thank you. Then we have Dr. Benny Anthony, who is the co-founder and joint managing director of Arjuna Natural Private Limited, Alua, a global manufacturer and exporter of standardized herbal and spice extracts with an office in Dallas, United States of America. Dr. Benny completed his post-graduation in MSc Applied Chemistry, which deals with oils, fats, and aromatics from Maharaja's College, and acquired his PhD from Mahatma Gandhi University in Organic Chemistry. He has developed more than 100 nutraceutical products and exported to over 60 countries worldwide. He developed the purified omega-3 concentrate for the first time in India, and that conferred National Award for successful commercialization of an indigenous technology-based product, omega-3 fatty acids, in 2005. His brainchild, BCM95, has been applauded worldwide and is today considered as the popular bioavailable curcumin brand in the international markets with 40 internationally granted patents. Welcome, Dr. Benny.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Gopakumar S. Dr. Gopakumar S. is the professor and head of department of Roganidana in Government Ayurveda College, Kannur, Kerala. He was the first rank holder in BAMS, BAMS. He has completed his MD in Kaya Chikitsa General Medicine and Roganidana Pathology, as well as he has completed his PhD in Ayurveda. Awarded with Atreya, the best teacher from Kerala University of Health Sciences, and Acharya Award from Central Council of Indian Medicine Department of Ayush, Dr. Gopakumar has won several coveted awards and recognitions in his illustrious career. Besides these, he has published several books defining Ayurveda, which has won many accolades and appreciation across the globe. Welcome, Dr. Gopakumar.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Welcome, Doctor. So with this, we start with our panel discussion, which I'm sure our audience has been waiting for a while. And I would like to start my first question with Dr. Remushri. Doctor, we heard Shri D. Satyan and Shri Divakar Nath Mishra talking about the evolution of spices. But if I may ask you a bit about, how it became part of our culture, it would be great to hear a few words from you on that.
Okay, Nina, it's already our secretary D. Satyan and also respected Sri Dipaka Mishra sir also mentioned some of the points of how spices become our culture. The history of spices is almost as old as human civilization, and India has been considered as the spice bowl of the world since time immemorial. Consequently, all conquering tribes right from Assyrians, Babylonians, Arabs, Romans, so on, and to the British and Portuguese invaded to India with one ambition, only one ambition, to benefit from the rich natural wealth and Indian spice. And also the Vedas, the most ancient Hindu scriptures, are considered as the earliest written document mentioned about spices. For example, in Rig Veda, that is around 1500 to 1200 BC, has referred to different types of spices, and especially black pepper. They have mentioned in several, that means Yajurveda and so on. And the utility of innumerable purpose could be the reason why element of spices can be traced back to the beginning of civilization. When there is no refrigerator or sophisticated things, spices were used to retain the freshness of the cooked food for a long time, or to do away from an unpleasant smell of or decaying meats. That means preservative. They are used as a preservative and to add taste and flavor to blend dishes. However, these spices become an integral part of human everyday life, like food, health, and moods. And so later on, this knowledge of medicinal and other value added items. And among this all, black pepper, that means catched a very prime position and important and most widely used across the world. And the characteristic of maybe the pungency, the flavor conquered this black pepper as one of the prime in the spice item. And at the beginning of 14th century, so many sailors traveled across the sea and the global exploration and circumnavigation of the earth. And this leads to the that means Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and other voyages. And though the Columbus was to obtain the peppercorns, but unfortunately he traveled to the western coast. But that Portuguese and the empire in the trade of black pepper began with the landing Vasco da Gama in the Calicut city near Malabar coast, which continued till 18th century. And this indeed was also the beginning of the colonial era that ended in dominance of Arabs in Indian spice trade prominently. And also later on, it ended with coming to the British East India Company and so on. Eventually, the pepper become worldwide. That means pepper traveled from India to other countries also. That means Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brazil, so on. Now, it is peppercorns are widely spread in all over these countries. And these are some of the major points I would like to mention, because it's a long story. It is little difficult to conclude in a small meeting or things. It's a big history is there in the spice route. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. This brings me to a question possibly, I wanted to ask you at some point, but I'll ask now. Have you seen an increase in demand and supply of spices in the last 1.5 years? Has there been an increase?
Yeah, of course, yes. During, it is already mentioned by our secretary and also our Divakar sir, during 2021, despite the continuous of COVID-19 pandemic and consequent recessions in the global economy, spices export from India continuously going upward trend, and it reached $4.1 billion export. And we have to say that it is a tremendous increase compared to the past years also. And trade, that means spices export during 2021 attained an all-time record in terms of both volume and value compared to the last years. And the export has shown an increase of 30% in quantity and also 23% in value. In dollar terms, an increase of 70%. It shows the in pandemic period also the demand of spices is going up, and it reached, that means Indian spice produce exported to 180 destinations across the globe in 2021, and the leading destinations were China, USA, Bangladesh, so on. And the distribution, that is the destination are widely, that means I told you, 180 destinations. And chili, in this export, chili stands first by other mint, curcumin, turmeric, spice oil, and oleoresins. So actually, I should say that this pandemic is not anyway affected the spice trade.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It seems like because of the pandemic, possibly people have started relying and using spices more as a home remedy to build immunity. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Emma. Moving on to Dr. Katoch. Dr. Katoch, we were talking about the evolution of spices and we were talking about the demand and supply. Talking about Ayurveda, could you please share the importance of spices in Ayurveda, please?
Yes. Good evening to all, first of all. I still remember, if you recall, that I think it was on 8th or 9th January 2020 when the COVID cases were reported from Kochi. 2 students who came from Wuhan, and within 20 days, the Ministry of Ayush, at that point of time, I was in the Ministry of Ayush as advisor Ayurveda. We notified certain guidelines how to take healthcare during this COVID outbreak. And if you see the guidelines, in those guidelines, there is specific mention of certain spices, whether it is tulsi, whether it is cinnamon, black pepper, ginger, turmeric, all this is mentioned there. And in the next 2 months, we evolved a formulation, and that formulation is very popular now. And that formulation was given by the Honorable Prime Minister, Ayush Kadha, and we named it as Ayush Quat, Ayush Decoction, and now that is available in the market and in the standardized form. We developed the standards of the ingredients, we developed the standards of the formulations, the manufacturing technology, everything that was developed. And today I am happy to say that around 200 companies, they are manufacturing Ayush Quat, the government companies, the private companies, and the other companies. Now, out of 109 spices which Mr. Satyan has told us that about 109 spices are there which are being dealt by the spices board. So around 20 are very common across the country, 20 spices. And out of 20, 10 are mostly used, widely consumed. And out of those 10, the 6 are the global spices. The global spices, and the number one is two peppers, the black pepper and the red pepper. Then the turmeric. Turmeric is the recent entry into the global, in the list of global spices. Then the ginger. Then the coriander and parsley. Parsley is not of Indian origin, but it is equivalent to the coriander. Then the saffron. So these are the 6 spices. Now, if you see Ayurveda literature, I think Ayurveda literature has the longest documented history about the use of spices. About the use of spices. As Dr. Rima Shiri told that in the Vedic literature also the spices are documented. Now in Ayurveda, very systematically, means in the context of food also, and in the context of the medicinal formulations also, the spices are used. Both ways. In the food, in the dietary management of the diseases, as well as this medicinal management of the disease. In both ways, the spices are used. And these spices, their standards are given in the pharmacopoeia. Government has published a pharmacopoeia, Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, Unani pharmacopoeia, Siddha pharmacopoeia. So their quality standards are mentioned there. Similarly, some of the spices, their standards are notified by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So quality certification is there. Now the purpose of using the spices in the medicinal formulations and in the dietary formulations, means in different recipes, the uses are different. In the food, they are just to enhance the flavor, the aroma of the food, or to enhance the digestive power of the individual. So that purpose. But if you see in the medicinal formulation, there are so many uses. I have just listed out, means starting from appetizer. It could be the spice could be appetizer, it could be digestive, it could be carminative, it could be anti-flatulent, it could be metabolic stimulant, it could be hepatoprotective, it could be liver stimulant, it could be hypolipidemic, it could be anti-cancerous, it could be antimicrobial, antiviral, antioxidant, antiseptic, turmeric, anti-allergic. So many uses are there. And there is a lot of scientific validation about the uses of these spices. But the thing is, in Ayurveda, Siddha, and Unani, the uses of spices by the people, it all depends upon the temperament of the individual. There are individuals, those who are of hot temperament. Then there are dry temperament individuals. Then there are phlegmatic temperament of the individual. So there is selective use. It is not the random use. So judicious use of the spices, I think that is recommended in Ayurveda. And particularly because this human body, it is evolved from food. It is said that is evolved from food. So proper digestion of the food, then the proper absorption of the food after digestion, then the proper assimilation of the food elements into the body system, then the synthesis of the tissues and the cells. So all, I think, that is stimulated or that is promoted with the help of these spices. So that is what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katoj. This brings me to a question for Dr. Gopakumar, actually, since we're talking about Ayurveda and spices. So, Dr. Gopakumar, from a clinical management of diseases, when it comes to COVID patients, how do you see Ayurveda and spices playing a role there?
Respected dignitaries and clinical management of diseases, Ayurveda being a scientific methodology is having a particular approach. In Ayurveda, we will be identifying the causes as well as the progression of disease using Ayurvedic clinical. So we will identify what is the cause of the. Then we will go to the clinical with the necessary modern investigation, and then we will be identifying. Coming to the question of COVID-19, as already spoken by the we have our own treatment protocol by identifying the nature of the disease per patient. I am believe in individualized treatment. Depending upon the patient, the treatment may also vary. The treatment which are antiviral, which are antipyretic against the fever, and the drugs which will be promoting the immunity power. And we do have the clinical application of or medical application of ginger. We have the clinical application of the black pepper and ela, that is cardamom. That's a combination. And there are so many combinations in Ayurvedic classical textbooks which are containing the spices. We are prescribing certain decoctions, we are prescribing certain tablets, which all contain the spices as a very common drugs. So the drugs like ginger, the drugs like turmeric, the drugs like cardamom, black pepper, etc. readily placed in multiple combinations of Ayurvedic drugs. And when there is a problem with the respiratory system, we very well know it basically affects our respiratory system. We do have spices with high medicinal values to expectorate the sputum as well as promoting the health of the throat as well as the respiratory passages. And the drugs like turmeric, the drugs like ginger, the drugs like cinnamon, black pepper are used in single in combination depending upon the clinical features of the patient. So I can conclude like this: Ayurveda considers diet equal role. So we are converting diets into drugs by medicating them. Say, for example, we will be preparing the food. We will be the gruel, which are empowered by using the herbal drugs. So you can use the tea with black pepper and cardamom. You can give the gruel with black pepper and cinnamon, and use the golden milk, that is turmeric powder with. So we can convert diet into drug and we can apply herbs which are having spices in single. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Gopakumar, for sharing that piece of information with us. I would like to ask Mr. Benny this question before I go to Dr. Shikha, because Dr. Shikha, with you, I would like to discuss about the academy. But before that, Dr. Benny, if I can ask you about the standardized herbal and spice extract that the organization that you founded and that work that happens in your organization, if you could give us a brief on that, since we are in the midst of talking about spices and its efficacy.
Yes. Good evening, all. The extract, we are talking about the extract, that's my area. The extract, what is an extract? Extract is an essence of any spice or botanicals. And mainly it is made by this solvent extraction, maybe water or other chemical solvent. And a simple extraction process at home, we are doing every day is a brewing tea. In the tea boiled with water, and the water part contains all essence of tea. And then we remove the water, then you will get the extract. That's a very simple process. That's what we are doing. But this selection of solvent depends upon the material we are using. For spices, we have to use ethanol, acetone, instead of water. These are the common solvents we have been using in the spices. So the then standardization, because the extract one aspect and then standardization extract is also the other point. It's also very important. Standardization is mainly standardization of extract is mainly for the to keep the consistency of the quality of the product, or batch to batch consistency. That's very important, especially in the health food segment. So this standardization is done by several methods. Maybe one of the popular method in the health food is the by standardizing by active constituents. That means if you look for a spice, for example, turmeric. Turmeric, we are talking a lot on turmeric, but the most of the activities of turmeric are due to curcumin. So the turmeric extract is standardized with the 95% curcumin or 50% curcumin or 10% curcumin. So this type of things are known as standardized extract. And this, some other cases, we use a fingerprinting of constituents, because that's becoming very popular at the moment, especially in Ayurveda drugs. The fingerprinting, it is like a DNA fingerprinting, and we are doing the fingerprinting of chemical constituents by chromatography. So this is one way of other standardization. Then other third point is maybe on a color or food part. For example, turmeric, if you are using for the food color, the color should be standardized. Color should be uniform, or the nature, viscosity, or the particle size should be uniform. These are all the standardization. So we need, so we are in that area. So standardized herbal spice extract, mainly for the health food industry.
Thank you. Can I quickly ask you then about, what is the market size, the global market size for these extracts?
This is basically the market size on especially on the health food segment. That's what we are working, and the main market is in US. And this 70% of our product going to US. That's the main area. The majority of these food supplements are in the form of capsule and tablet, because this type of business are not common in India. It is coming up, it's growing, but in US it started in, or I think it's in 1990. That's a well established at the moment. So this is the one segment, but in other standardized extract, we can see the ginger. Ginger is a very popular. The ginger is standardized ginger. It's not like other extract, but it is standardized ginger with the gingerol. The gingerol is the pungent principle of ginger. So this ginger standardized with the gingerol, maybe 5% or 10% or 30% level, that is filled in the capsule or tablet or as in a chewing gum or some other way. And this helps in indigestion, and it's also very powerful anti-inflammatory, and also it's a very good against rhinovirus, the virus that is responsible for the cold. Then the size wise, if you can look into the nutraceutical business, as rightly mentioned here, the total business including herbal supplements, vitamin, amino acid, may be around 6.3 billion in US dollar. In 2020, that is expected to reach around 8 billion in 2026. So that's a big volume, and herbal supplement industry is in a fast track grow. Outside in India also, it's in a growing stage.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing those numbers with us. Coming to Dr. Shikha. Dr. Shikha, when I was introducing you, we spoke about Nutriwell Health India, and I wanted to ask you about the Vedic Nutrition Academy. Could you please share a bit for the benefit of our audience here, please?
Yes. So to give you a little background about when I was working in cardiology at JB Pant Hospital, what used to pain me a lot was seeing patients die in front of my eyes. And of course, the moment you start going into the depth of what causes heart attacks and what is the preventive mode, it all boils down to your nutrition. And when I got into nutrition, I realized that in modern nutrition, there were little gaps in understanding. And I'll give you a small example. Like, for example, when we used to advise our patients in preventive health, and I got into preventive healthcare, that please have curd for calcium, the patients used to come back and tell me, because I was trained in everything modern, that we won't give curd at night because it will cause a sore throat. And I used to wonder, I am the doctor, and yet I don't know all these things, which my patient knows because the grandmother knows. And that set me thinking that I'm not really very well trained. I may be literate or a doctor in one pathy, but I'm illiterate in another pathy. And for me, my patient was more important than which pathy I was following. And I started integrating the two while dealing with patients, and I saw remarkable improvements. So then I realized that unless and until, see, one doctor doing this will not help. There should be thousands of lakhs of doctors who are uh, integrating the Vedic principles, the Ayurvedic principles into their daily practice. Because every day you don't need to give an antibiotic. Every day you don't need to give a steroid. Those are only for critical conditions. And then I realized that unless I structure it into a course, it will not work. And that was the genesis of the academy, which is an online academy. And the reason I wanted it to be online is because, again, for practical reasons. See, as a doctor, we always see that is it practical for the student? And you know that today students or otherwise also, they travel long distances, 2 hours to reach a university, to reach a college, and then they have to go back and travel and again study. So I realized that the online education platform has to be used for, and this is how we started, and we got a very, and we got very good response. Initially, I was thinking that maybe people may not be interested in these ancient sciences like I am very interested, but I found that people were interested to learn. So our motto of our organization is that we must uh, carry the Vedic knowledge, the Ayurvedic knowledge, and bring it to the world and train professionals. See, one of the biggest bottlenecks today is that when you are a doctor, you are scared of being sued by a patient. You're scared of somebody will come and say that you treated me on which protocol. And that is why it was very important for us to start this academy and give them the required structured knowledge so that they don't feel hesitant or they don't feel nervous about prescribing these herbs or prescribing these kind of products. So that was the genesis, and of course I feel very happy to be part and parcel of this great tradition, the great Indian tradition. But I must also point out two small things here. The first is yoga became popular only when it was structured by the West. And my fear is that if, as India, we don't quickly rise to the occasion and teach genuine uh, Vedic sciences to the West they are very good at structuring and they're very good at scaling. That should not happen. That should not happen. That we should lose another one of our great traditions because we did not structure it properly, or there were just too many issues or too many bottlenecks in structuring this whole science and taking it to the wide world. See, because COVID has taught us that irrespective of whatever you do in terms of medicine, immunity is your own body. And if your body is not healthy, and if your body is not supported by nutrition and herbs, no amount of medicine can help, no amount of drugs can help. So that is where I thought teaching is a great tradition, and why not teach the great Indian tradition?
Thank you. Thank you for that. And why not we take it a bit forward and possibly the fear that you told, you just mentioned. Why don't we just give a bit to the people who are listening to us, a bit of responsibility by talking about the app that you have, which is the Vedic app. Because as much as you can train students and train physicians about Vedic nutrition, I think ultimately it falls on people whether they take accountability of their health, right? So could you please share a bit about that and how does it help people? What can they find there?
Yes. Thank you for that question. So, when I looked at modern science and I looked at how the Western world looks at science and how they are so successful, I looked at technology is the key. And that is why marrying the best cutting edge technology with the ancient sciences is the way forward. And so I'm happy to tell you that today in our team we have 5 engineers from IIT and about a team of 20 engineers in total who created the whole Vedic app. The app, what was the philosophy of the app? The philosophy of the app is that everybody should get access to the Vedic nutrition to the recipes, to the knowledge, to how to use it, to the nutrition plans, and everything. So what we did is that we asked, so our team of engineers drawn from the best college of India, which are IITs, we put together a app. This was much before COVID. This was 5-6 years before COVID. We put together an app in which we put all the nutrition plans, the recipes, the menu plans, the knowledge pieces, everything together and made it free. Why? Because a lot of people said that, if you charge, people will not use it. I said, make it free. We don't want to charge for this Vedic app. Let everybody use it free of cost. And we're happy to say that we got lakhs of downloads on it. And see, what is the fundamental reason? What are the features? Like I said, the features are all about what I say self-help. So you can follow a nutrition plan. You can look at herbs. You can look at the knowledge. You can look at everything in one application. And our aim was that once we standardize or we create, like for example, it was mentioned by an esteemed panelist that the Ayurvedic principles follow on your prakriti or your nature. Now today the West is talking about nutrition and genetics, but we had nutrition and genetics 5,000 years back. I mean, I'd love to say 10,000, but 5,000 is the recorded history, so I would say 5,000. So we had nutrition and genetics so many thousands of years back. But today the West world is talking about epigenetics. What is epigenetics? Epigenetics is the whole science of how the environment can manipulate your DNA. And in our sciences, in Vedic sciences, yoga, pranayam, herbs, nutrition, prakriti, everything was all there. So as a Western medicine doctor, when I started reading our ancient sciences, I was stunned. I was stunned by the depth of the knowledge. And I thought this must reach the world in the way the modern world understands. That's technology.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And, somewhere I think I'm also keen to go back and read a bit about, our Vedic science and see if I can possibly learn something from there. So thank you for inspiring us. Dr. Katoch, we were talking about, Dr. Shikha has shared about the app and, our rest of the panelists have spoken about the different spices. I want to ask you about the standalone use of spices. Is it promoted right? Is it advocated right? So what I'm looking at is, the dose, the duration, the frequency, because many of us do act as self-prescribed doctors once in a while.
Madam Dina, very important question you have asked. No, the stand-alone use of spices that is there in Ayurveda, that is there in the Siddha system medicine, that is there in Unani system medicine. Now, the important point is that in these systems, in the traditional systems of medicine, the approach of intervention is individualized. No generalized approach. It has to be customized, it has to be individualized, it has to be personalized. So that is important. Now, suppose if a person is of hot temperament, it means the hot spice cannot be given. Even if it is to be given, it has to be given in small amount, or something has to be added which can nullify the bad effect of that spice. So those kinds of guidelines are there. Those kinds of guidelines. Now, for the standalone use of spices, I think the best thing could be the person must go to the practitioner. Without consulting the practitioner, the Ayurveda practitioners or the Siddha practitioners. I think they should not make a standalone use of spice. Now, when I say standalone use, the important is the dose, the duration, the frequency. Now, during this COVID-19 outbreak, when we published these guidelines that the use of spices for prevention and for promotive healthcare, many people, many news came to us that they have started using this Ayush Quat 3 times a day, 4 times a day, boiling for 10 minutes. We never recommended that boil it. Just put that powder in 150 ml of hot water, comes. Because that immunomodulator complex, that is water soluble, which is in the polysaccharide. If you boil, it means the secondary metabolites will come out and they are more toxic. Okay? So this thing is important. And for that, I think there should not be any self-use. Means self-medication should not be done with the spices. It has to be in consultation with the practitioner. Go to some dispensary, to the hospital, or to some practitioner, and then they take the guidelines. And the most important thing, as the Dr. Shikha pointed out, that the individualized constitution, that is very, very important. Psychophysical constitution of the individual, that is very, very important. We must know the temperament and the prakriti of the individual. Accordingly, those spices can be used, and then the dose and the frequency and the duration can be determined.
Thank you very much. What I take from this is, for the benefit of our audience, is that firstly, follow instructions on whatever medicine, medication, or kada you're taking. It will tell you how you have to boil or how you have to prepare. And secondly, if you want to take something in terms of spices, always check with your practitioner or certified nutritionist, because they will tell you exactly how to take it, the right dose. Thank you very much for that. And while we are talking about this, Dr. Gopakumar, I wanted to understand the common clinical conditions where spices have a dominant role. If you can give us a few examples on that.
Okay, so we have already seen that it can be given different clinical condition under strict medical supervision. You can take it as a food, but when we are spices and drugs, real medicine, we have to understand the patient's history and follow a protocol. And the majority of the area where we are prescribing the respiratory diseases, and we very well know the upper respiratory infections, bronchitis, bronchitis. We can give the preparations which are in the spices. And we do have a system treatment called the Rasayana treatment. That is called rejuvenation therapy. And this rejuvenation therapy or Rasayana treatment in Ayurveda, most of the Rasayanas contain these spices like the Chavanapras, which are available in the market. They also contain the spices, and they are very well directed to respiratory infections and other conditions. And coming to the digestive disorders, according to Ayurveda, we consider digestion as the basic criteria of being healthy. If there is a problem in the stomach, there is a problem in the gastrointestinal tract, we can tell that disease is starting from there. So we can diseases is nothing other than your stomach. So whenever there is a digestive disorder, we can use the drugs like dried ginger, cumin, especially jeeraga, and the drugs like black pepper in different combinations we can use to treat the digestive conditions. When there is flatulence, etc., we can prescribe the drug. And especially we very well know due to the issues now, gastritis issue, untimely food, untimely food, and all the junk food, etc. We take, we are getting acidity. And coriander, coriander is boiled, used as a drinking water. That's an ideal answer, as an ideal home remedy. I am telling for the public, I am telling for the layman. The coriander boiled water can be used as a drinking water to fight against acidity. And then other area where spices are used is metabolic. We very well know we are getting the metabolic issues like diabetes mellitus, which can eventually lead to the there also we can use the drugs, especially the garlic. And garlic is a very good drug to hyperlipidemia, hypertension, and even to fight against, including coronary. And even you can use the combination of mustard. Mustard oil is also indicated in diabetes mellitus. The combinations of black pepper and dried ginger along with hyperlongum, that is called tipali, to bring down the cholesterol and other lifestyle. So what I'm telling is the areas mainly where we can use spices are the respiratory disorders, the digestive disorders, the metabolic disorders, including diabetes and other.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gopakumar. This brings me to a question for Dr. Rema here. We are talking about spices, we are talking about role of spices, we are talking about how much to take spices. How does Spice Board India control the quality of spices when it comes to adulteration? How do you minimize the adulteration in spices? How do you keep clean spices? And what are the challenges you typically face?
Okay, this is one of the important question and need of the hour for the export promotion and all. You know, with the increasing awareness about the food safety among global consumers, spices exported from India need to comply with the several quality and safety requirements in the international trade. And some of the quality requirements are cleanliness is one of the most important requirement in spices. And there are national and international limits for parameters. Like that means it is so many standards are also there, ISO standard, Codex standard, this standard, like so on, in which this extraneous matter, foreign matter, filth, insect infestation, excreta, and physical and microbiological mold. These are some of the important quality parameters we have to consider. Then coming to other thing means spices also contain, that means we have to maintain the spices with the optimum moisture content between 8 to 10%, because if it is going high, certainly this mold and this fungal infection may come and it will lead to the formation of aflatoxin. That is also another problem. And there are other parameters, quality parameters, for example, this volatile oil content, especially, you know, that all these spices contain volatile oils. So the percentage of volatile oil is also, there is standards. And also the major biological ingredient like piperin, curcumin, so on, pungent principle of capsaicin, like that. And other color content also. For example, chili is taking chili color, and ginger oil, if ginger is some percentage of ginger oil also there is in the standard. So these are all the major parameters which we are concerned about. And the minimum requirement of these parameters are covered in the international and national. In the national level, it is included in the FSSAI regulations. And in the international trade, the minimum requirement are referred from Codex standard, Codex Alimentaris Commission for that spices and culinary herbs. Spices Board is the secretariat, and we are preparing the standards, and also ISO standards. These are the standards. And coming to safety parameters and other associated challenges, that is 4 important safety parameters are also there. That is presence of mycotoxin, pesticide residues, and illegal dyes, and microbial contamination. These are the other major safety parameters that we are. I'm not going into deep into that. Even then, pesticide is another important issue. Challenges are that we have to take care. And this judicious use of pesticide might not be followed by the farmers or the growers. That leads to the pesticide load in spices. Then presence of illegal dyes in chilies and all. That means Sudan dyes, sometimes it may there, and where the detection level may be higher, and there will be a rejection. That means export rejection may come due to that one. And coming to the microbial contaminations also, and another big issue is with salmonella and pathogens. That means salmonella, E. coli, we have safety concern on that. And salmonella continue to be a major cause of export rejection for Indian spices from US and European Union. And how we are tackling it? What is the role of Spices Board to address all these issues? That the Spices Board has implemented a program for mandatory inspection of export consignment of Indian spices for important safety and quality parameters. This program has been in place for over 10 years now, and has proved very successful. That means we are successful in reduction in export rejection. That means RASF, we reduce the RASF considerably, and Spices Board is having 8 state-of-arts quality evaluation laboratory in major ports. And this European Union has recognized the Spices Board as the competent authority for spice export from India, and covers board's regulatory schemes also in their periodic audit also there from European Union. So these are the parameters, that means the role of spices for the that means to maintain the quality of Indian spices which is going abroad. And by this methods we could able to reduce the export rejection considerably. And a few more emerging challenges are coming every time. Some this way or other way, some new challenges are coming into picture. And the recent challenges are some of the pesticide issue is still there. Even then, another ethylene oxide. This ethylene oxide treatment is going on in some spices for sterilization. That is another important issue. Board is already taken up the issue and discussed with the European Union, and we are studying the root cause analysis and to monitor all these things for the betterment of Indian spice export, because we have a big target. Ministry of Commerce interested a big target of $5 billion US dollars in the coming years. So we are strictly following all these things for quality parameters and to check adulterants and all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Emma. This brings me to a question for Dr. Katoch. We've spoken about clean spices, quality of spices, adulteration, and how the Spice Board is taking care or is fighting against all the challenges to make sure the spices stay clean for our consumption. What about the potency of spices? If someone buys spices, let's say, can they use it after 3 years? Is it going to provide them with the same value or same effect?
Yes, there's potency of the spices. This is very important. If you see in Ayurveda and in other traditional systems of medicine, for the herbal products, these spices are also herbal products. So in the wholesome form, then they are harvested. So after harvesting, the guidelines in our literature, in traditional literature, is that after 1 year, they lose their potency. After 1 year, means after passing one rainy season, but because of this packing technology and good storage conditions, so maximum up to 2 to 3 years, these spices can remain potent. Now the important point is that there are certain organoleptic parameters on the basis of which we can check the potency, like the flavor, the fragrance, aroma, taste. Every spice has typical taste, typical aroma, typical fragrance, typical flavor. So if that flavor, that taste, if that aroma is lost, it means that spice has lost its potency. That should not be used. Now, as far as the storage of the spice is concerned, that is also very, very important, because as Dr. Rima told, that 8 to 10% moisture is there. All these are herbal products, the moisture is there. So moisture is the most favorable condition for growth of this aflatoxins, the fungal toxins, right? Now, those toxins should be within the permissible limits. So permissible limits of the aflatoxin, permissible limits of the microbes, then the permissible limits of the pesticides, because we are using pesticides in the cultivation of medicine plants, in the cultivation of these spices, also pesticides, other things. So these 4 things are also important. Now these days there is more emphasis on absence of impurities than on the purities. Impurities, so contamination. So contamination should not be there. Sometimes instead of this spice itself, there will be more harm because of that contaminant, like aflatoxin I told you. It could be pesticide, it could be some microbial contamination or heavy metals. Now in the industrial areas, many medicine plants, when they are grown in that area, there is absorption of the heavy metals into the plant. So these limits have been fixed, and these are notified in the pharmacopoeia. So for the use of spices in the Ayurvedic formulation or the Siddha formulation or the Unani formulation, the limits for the these permissible limits of the heavy metals, permissible limits of the aflatoxin, that has been notified. That is mandatory for the industry to follow. But at the household level, when the people they are using spices, whether in the form or in the stand use form or in the form of home remedies, I think they must be very clear, or they must be aware of that whether the potency is there or not. This is very important, and that potency can be tested on the basis of this organoleptic parameters, means the taste, the fragrance, and then this flavor. So if it is there, if it is retained, only then those spices should be used, otherwise not.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Katoj. Dr. Gopakumar, I have this question for you about the lifestyle diseases. How can the spices be used to control or cure these lifestyle diseases?
Okay, so we very well know the lifestyle disorders are very, very Ayurveda, we can prevent or we can treat the lifestyle disorders by having healthy food culture, by adopting normal exercise, by maintaining normal sleep, and by maintaining normal mental health without any stress. So there are different Ayurvedic drugs, the so-called spices, which can enhance the natural digestion, which can definitely fight against the stress, and which can definitely improve the health of the blood vessels. So most of the lifestyle disorders are affecting the blood vessels, whether it is diabetes mellitus, whether it is any other heart pathology or any other issue. There will be the vascular health of the blood vessels. So the drugs like turmeric and the drugs like cinnamon, very important drugs which are widely prescribed in different kinds of lifestyle diseases, because it is having very good antioxidant property. The drugs which are having antioxidant property are very, very important for the lifestyle disorders, and especially when there is issues like diabetes mellitus, problem with the insulin resistance. There are drugs like Trikadu. Trikadu means a combination in Ayurveda which contains dry ginger, black pepper, and piper longam. And the powder of this Trikadu churna, the powder to 5 grams with honey can be given to prevent and treat the disease. Garlic, I already told you, garlic is a very proven drug with modern pharmacological fighting against the hypertension, and it is a very good drug against lowering the triglycerides. If you go to different medical formulations which contain garlic to treat the various diseases and the various dyslipidemia. So the old mentioned in Ayurvedic literature are now being subjected to scientific validation, and they are giving very positive results. So in lifestyle diseases, especially when there is degeneration with the brain, like disease or any other problem like Parkinson's, etc. Again, the drugs like curcumin is having a very good action. Whether it is garlic, whether it is piper nigrum or piper locum or cinnamon, these drugs are created changes in the vascular system, in the blood vessels, system, as well as in the endocrine and neurological path. So nowadays, we always talk about neurological and psychiatric complaints together. And whether when we are getting these components together, the neurological diseases and the psychiatric diseases, there are proven spices which are used as single or combination form to treat such conditions. So I can tell you, I think we have to bring these spices to the dining table. At the time of Independence Day celebration, the humble point is, let us declare freedom from unhealthy food culture. Let us declare a freedom from unhealthy food culture and bring spices to the dining table and make our kitchen as eco-friendly pharmacy for a house. The kitchen should be the pharmacy, and the dining table should be enriched with the spices. And we very well know that is the final point. Ayurveda considers drug and diet with equal importance, and both should be derived from Mother Nature. If we are simply on the natural drug and the natural diet, eventually the Mother Nature is responsible for curing us. So I can conclude answer for a green health. So spices are more important. Let us propagate it through the education system. Let our children learn about the spices and Ayurvedic drugs, and then naturally they will adopting them. Then only we can check the progression of lifestyle diseases in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Gopakumar, for that informative, sharing. Dr. Shikha, I wanted to ask about, the public outreach programs, because, there's a lot of information that is available on the net, and I'm sure a lot of audience is also listening to us today. But a lot also goes in the background in terms of, how all the physicians and healthcare workers and teams have been trying to reach the public. So could you please share a bit about the public outreach programs that you've undertaken and what goes behind it?
Yes, thank you for that question. Firstly, before I forget, I must thank the Ministry of Ayush for coming up so quickly with all the formulations, because it helped us. It gave us, you can say, a sanctity to go out and keep prescribing it, which we knew from experience it will work. But the Ayush Ministry, when it comes up with a formulation, it makes so much more. You can say it adds so much weightage and value and helps us to go through all the allopathic doctors also. So when you talk about public outreach program, so last year we actually launched our digital One Health television, and the reason we launched our digital One Health television is because again we felt that the richness of how Ayurveda and the Vedic sciences can treat people, help people, and especially in pandemic times when the hospitals were stretched, the doctors were doing double duty, triple duty. They were also stressed. They were falling ill. You will be surprised. I was calling the doctors for a show, and they said everybody in my family has COVID, so today I'll have to cancel. And that is the level the doctors have been working, and hats off to them. So what I realized is that mainstream television never talks about health to the level it has to. Every day when we talk about how to use turmeric, how to use ginger, and why it's so important to use it in your daily food, and why it works. Like, for example, coconut oil, it's such a powerful antifungal. And unfortunately, couple of years back, or I think not couple of, some time back, there was some research which I'm sure was flawed done in the US, which said that coconut oil is harmful. And that was sad, because coconut oil has been used for centuries in India, and it's such a powerful antifungal. And for the black fungus and white fungus, uh, rinsing the mouth with coconut oil should have been done right from day one, instead of that the blood sugar rising, and then the fungal spreading, and then people losing an eye, or people getting into surgeries. So what I was trying to say was that we thought it's our responsibility, through the outreach program, through the videos, through the television, what we launched, spread the information how people can protect themselves at home. Similarly, something called Nasyam. Now, I'm not an Ayurvedic doctor, but in our teams we have a lot of Ayurvedic doctors. So when I asked them, how do you protect? They said, ma'am, Nasyam is something which is a traditional Ayurveda procedure, practice, and this should be done at home for everyone who's of a certain age. So I said, why don't we propagate this? Because what I'm trying to say is that when we look at uh, the outreach of Ayurveda, it needs a lot of uh, players to come together. It needs radio, it needs television. Though we launched our digital television, but we are a very small player in the whole scheme of things. And people are hungry for information. So when people go to a regular television, they only hear about antibiotics and steroids and other things. But what about the Ayurvedic medicine, the Ayurvedic herbs, what they can do in the kitchen? So what we realized is that people are hungry, people are desperate for information, and what can be better than the herbs in their kitchen? And also it is very important to counter uh, misinformation. Why I'm saying misinformation is because what happens is that we all know that Ayurvedic sciences work in a certain way, which is very different from modern medicine. And both have their own space, both have their own role, and both are important. But there is no comparison. They work in different spheres and different uh, science. The sciences are a little different and how it works. So, for example, when we talk about allopathic medicine, it will go and block a particular biocycle. But the Ayurvedic system works very differently. So I can be corrected if I'm wrong, but what my Ayurvedic doctors told me, that the entire digestion and assimilation, and when it becomes energy in Ayurvedic sciences, food, it can take 30 to 35 to 38 days. Now this is very important to understand, that the food, or the suppose somebody's consumed alcohol, somebody's eating tobacco, somebody's eating those chemical laced foods, they can have an impact even after 35 days, because that's the time the energy will come into the body. That's the time the complete assimilation will happen. And like I said, I'm happy to be corrected. Now, these are the sciences which don't work, which work at a different level compared to what as allopath I was trained in sciences. Because for us, 8 hours digestion done, end of the matter. So this is what is very important, that with public outreach programs, and we did hundreds of webinars, we did hundreds of programs on Ayurvedic sciences, on nutrition, on how to protect like copper vessels. So I think it is very important. The time has come that we have to do. But before I complete, there's one concern I have, and it's a major concern. The concern is we are losing forests, we are losing our biodiversity, and many of these plant genomes are being patented by Western scientists. There is a there is a there is a process, unfortunately, which has started, where the plant genomes are being researched, studied, and the seeds are being stored by some institutions in the West. So we have to protect our diversity. We have to protect our forests. We have to protect our plant genomes, so that we, as India, continue to have the usage of these plant genomes of the seeds, and they are not lost to the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Shikha. And with this, I have a question for Dr. Benny about the spice extracts. We were talking about herbal supplements, and you mentioned about capsules. So are there any limitations of spices when it comes to these supplements? Dr. Benny, you're on mute.
I just remember the wording of a foreigner. He said about India that, India's gold mine is your traditional knowledge. I have a lot of confidence, and I have a lot of enthusiasm in that area. That's why we all started this industry, and that's why we are doing more research in this area. In China, I have seen that the traditional medicine is very popular, and it is actually prescribed in the hospital along with other drug. But India is not like that. That's one aspect. So spices, we know this. Coming to spices, is a rich source of therapeutic area application. But the issue here, the lack of evidence. As Dr. Shikla said, it's all things relating to the evidence. What is our evidence? There's a very systematic evidence. That's the main thing. Especially we are missing a lot of standard clinical trials, or the standardization technique itself is very important. So that's a one thing. Spices to be done, more research and more focus we have to do. And then the second part is the regulatory things. In herbal medicine is becoming more stringent at the moment, and it is just like a allopathic drug. And this that should be, especially the contaminants like pesticide, heavy metals, and then polyaromatic hydrocarbon. That's becoming big issue at the moment, especially in Europe. And recently, the more issue is with the ethylene oxide. And that's what Dr. Rama mentioned, that, ethylene oxide is a recent issue, that the level in, even for extract, this is even for extract, it should be less than 0.1 ppm. In US, that is around 400 ppm or something like that. But Europe, it is 0.1 ppm. And this is a very, very serious issue at the moment. I'm very happy that Spice Board has initiated this this issue very seriously, and it's good That's a very, very interesting point. And then the other issue with this identification test, like, in US, I'm talking more about the US, because the US, they need identification to prove the species of the plant used in the extract. And the DNA, that's normally we do the DNA identification, and that is a must. That's a very, very clear. But again, this DNA study, there is a university, Bharatiya University, Coimbatore. They have done a lot of initiation in that point, in this segment, DNA identification, and that is a must. And the second is also we have to prove that the part of plant, and that other challenge. If you use roots, we have to show that the product contains no leaves. And this is a other challenging job. And there are several labs in US which do this, carry out this type of analysis. Now, these are all the things, and then the drying of the spices, the drying condition is very important. And the quality of the dried spices are entirely different from fresh spice. Even for the turmeric, if you look at the essential oil of turmeric or some other things, on other constituent, it is different from dried one. So there is and also the drying condition. This is all affect the, spice quality in terms of as a, the medicine, not as a food grade, I mean, in the other segment. So this is a very important things, challenges of the spices to be tackled. And then I dream for a day, one day, for a, so develop the one pharmaceutical drug developed from the spices. It's not a difficult part. I remember, if you look at the modern drug like metformin or even aspirin, these are all derived from the natural sources. So that there is a chance in the future. So that's all about this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Benny. We have exceeded the time for the panel discussion, and we have received a lot of questions from the audience. I would say more than 60, 70, close to 100. We have covered some of the questions that the audience asked, but there is one question that I saw repeated quite a lot, and that is possibly I'll ask Dr. Rema, because people are asking that when spices are so important and when spices are part of our culture and tradition, why isn't it included in our curriculum, in our education, so that children are taught the importance of spices and they can, I think it is all coming back to, what the other panelist was saying, that how important it is, how we need to conserve our biodiversity, and how we need to keep this tradition within our country so that we don't have to tomorrow go and buy these things from the West. So how about, this is a question and a suggestion from the audience about including this in the curriculum for the children so that as they grow up, they know the value of these spices and what they can do for our lifestyle and health.
It is an interesting question. Actually, I do agree with the including in curriculum, but from our side, this including this curriculum related issues, our mandate is little different. Even then, what we are doing is we are giving a medicinal, that means spice garden in some of those schools. We are sponsoring, or we are encouraging the school students to create a spice garden along with the medicinal. In most of the school, they are now preparing this medicinal garden. In addition, board is taking initiative in initiating in preparing small spice garden, so the students will have a close contact with that spices and they will know. And I should say that most of the students, that means school students, are well aware about the home remedies, because especially during pandemic period, a wide publicity is there for this Ayush Khada and this this tulsi water, ginger, along with other spices. In every home, their parents are giving them, this is best for allergy, then that cold, cough, etc. So I think now students are well aware, and including in curriculum, that is also a good suggestion. And if possible, we will take up the matter with the higher ups. Let us hope for the best to include in the curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was going to say that, if there are limitations, I understand within the ministry, but we can use this as a forum so that you can take this request forward to the Ministry of Education and see if it could be included there.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So we have received a lot of questions, and unfortunately we do not have the time to take all those questions. But while I was going through the questions, I realized most of the questions have been answered. And we have spoken about also the efficacy of different spices, the simple spices that we get at home, how they can be used to treat some small ailments. And that has been discussed by not just our panelists, but also our distinguished guests. With this, I would quickly like to do a short summary on some of the activities that Spice Board India has initiated in the last 1.5 years when it comes to COVID. So to keep the spice export and trade intact, the board is in constant contact with Indian missions abroad, and many diplomatic interferences were made to ensure the continuous trade transactions happen globally. The board has been conducting a series of digital buyer-seller meets for ensuring that there is no gap, hindrance in sourcing and supply of spices from the country. And these BSMS benefited farmers, traders, and exporters immensely. There was a question about farmers, so possibly this can answer that. And the board is in the process of launching a unique virtual platform for export facilitation and promotion. This platform would provide the exporters with updated trade and market information, in addition to the facilities for setting up their virtual office in the portal. The portal will also have the facilities to conduct virtual trade fairs and meets, seminars, workshops, training programs, etc., for the Indian spice industry. And with this, I would like to thank once again the Spice Board India, which comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, for coming together with Times of India for facilitating, for organizing this panel discussion. I would also like to share my gratitude to our distinguished guests who are here today, Shri D. Satyan, IFS, Secretary and Chairman, Spices Board India, Shri Divakar Nath Mishra, IAS, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, our esteemed panelists, Dr. Shikha Sharma, Founder and MD, Nutriwell Health India Private Limited, Dr. A.B. Ramashri, Director, Research, Spice Board India, Dr. D.C. Katoch, Senior CMO, CGHS, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Benny Anthony, Co-Founder and Joint MD, Arjuna Natural Private Limited, and Dr. Gopakumar S., Medical Superintendent, Government Ayurveda College, Kannur, Kerala. And thank you very much.
Madam Meena, I just want to say one thing.
Yes, please.
I think in the last couple of minutes, I think a lot of important points have been raised. So one important point is that the wholesome use of spices should be promoted. Wholesome use, not the constituents of the, because at the household level, if we want to promote the use of spices, it should be wholesome use. Means not the extract, not the phytoconstituents. This is one part. Secondly, as far as the inclusion of spices in the course curriculum of the students is concerned, I think it is more important to include the components of spices in the curriculum of healthcare providers, the nursing personnel, the pharmacist, or the paramedical work. It is very important. And third is, as far as the public outreach program is concerned, I think it should be done at the level of sub-center. It should be done at the level of Anganwadis, so women and child midday meal schemes to that, because the mothers, they come there to the Anganwadis. We have more than 2 lakh Anganwadis in the country. So one-to-one that kind of education about the spices So these 3 points I wanted to convey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think Dr. Shikha has done something when it comes to, training the physicians, updating them. So possibly, this forum will also act as, a place where, all of you all have met, and possibly, moving forward, you will be able to take these discussions forward and do something more for the betterment of people and for promoting spices and herbs that are so exclusive and important to India. So thank you very much, all our panelists and our distinguished guests here today who took out time from their busy schedule to be here to share such insightful pieces of information with us about our history, about spices, and about how important it is for us to not just use them in the right manner, but also to carry forward this legacy, how to make sure that we conserve them and we continue to grow and produce it within our country, and not get to a place in future where we have to purchase it from the West. So thank you very much for your time, and with this we come to the close of this panel discussion today. Have a good evening all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All pleasure of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.